Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Well, Luis Ortiz, he is obviously a ruthless gambler. His team have doubled down on its claim to an Anthony Joshua fight. Ortiz, the WBA mandatory challenger to Joshua's belt, believes he has precedence over Joshua's IBF mandatory Kubrat Pulev to face AJ next. You might remember the WBA ordered the fight be made. Then the IBF, it also did the same. Both sanctioning bodies giving the parties involved 30 days to come to a deal. We are all but at the end of that 30 days. So Team Ortiz is now publicly pressuring the WBA to make good on the fight or strip Joshua of the belt. Remember, in the background, we've also had talk of Ortiz that he could very well fight Deontay Wilder, the WBC champ. So here's some comments that Ortiz's manager Jay Jimenez made to BoxingScene.com, and it kind of puts that potential fight talk in context. Jimenez says that they have not agreed to face Wilder and that they still want their mandatory position enforced to face Joshua next. He said that Ortiz is interested in facing Wilder, but with the WBA belt wrapped around his waist. No deal is done for Luis King Kong Ortiz to face Wilder. We are waiting on the WBA and Joshua. Luis is ready to face Joshua, but Joshua is avoiding the Cuban southpaw star like a deadly plague. So the bottom line is Eddie Hearn and Joshua have both said that they are facing Pulev, but nothing is confirmed, and the WBA gave them 30 days, and that ends on September 3rd. That's 5 days away, so if he doesn't want to face the big Cuban, the WBA should strip Joshua and give Luis the belt so he can face Wilder for a super clash of titans, because these guys are both extremely dangerous with incredible power. If the WBA breaks their own rules and gives Joshua a pass, then we will have no choice but to face Wilder on November 4. So let's just wait for these 6 days and wait on the WBA. Regardless, Luis will fight any of these two. In fact, if it were up to Luis, he would fight them both this year, and unlike Joshua and Wilder, he is confident in himself and he will unify all 4 belts by 2018. Wow, so a lot to unpack there. So that was the statement by Luis Ortiz's manager, Jay Jimenez. First, Team Ortiz clearly feels it's in a good spot here leverage-wise. It's directly challenging the WBA to follow its own rules and strip Joshua if an Ortiz fight is not next. Remember, Jimenez has talked previously about court action being a possible outcome. They clearly believe they have a strong case here, and that threat of court action, well, that's another bargaining chip in itself. The WBA president, you might remember, he also came out recently and spoke about wanting to keep all parties happy and to come to a resolution. So my read on that, well, the WBA, it probably wants to keep the popular Anthony Joshua as its champ. And clearly Team Ortiz feels that, if a resolution was reached, it's probably coming off second best in it, which would mean waiting longer for a shot at AJ. But openly challenging the WBA to strip, well, that's a ballsy move. It really does put the acid on the sanctioning body, and it puts it in a real bind. We already know that these outfits have wafer thin credibility, but it will be exposed again should they give Joshua a pass to face Pulev. So while the public pressure and corresponding public sentiment, that might be an influencing factor, it will undoubtedly be trumped by money. At the end of the day, the WBA will likely hitch its cart to the horse that makes the most money. So just on Pulev, we know Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn is adamant the IBF defense is next. But Kubrat Pulev's comments around needing 3 to 4 months to train, despite Joshua's fight date being penciled in for October 28th, it just makes this whole thing a little bit murky and opens that door to, well, Ortiz could be next. Sidebar here. I did try to get in touch with Kubrat Pulev via his Facebook, and I emailed him direct after the comments he made about, I've been in the dark and need more time to train. Didn't realize the fight was going to be so close. I need 3 to 4 months. So he made those comments on his Facebook page last week. Someone read the Facebook message that I sent. No idea about the email, but no one has come back to me. Not really surprised, but if you actually go back and look at his Facebook page and look at that message, even though it's a little garbled because of the translation, it was clearly a very carefully calculated and stage-managed stunt where he controlled the message. He clearly, from what he said, he didn't have the ear of his promoter Kelly Sowland and decided, well, going public, that sent Sowland a message and everyone else, don't forget about me. But back to Ortiz. Either way, he wins in all this. He's not going to be a loser. Option 1, so somehow he is next and faces Anthony Joshua. He gets paid handsomely, a boatload of money for the privilege of fighting AJ, and of course he has the chance to come away with 2 belts. And then obviously he'd go fight Wilder or Parker. Option 2, he successfully gets Joshua stripped of the belt to the dismay of Eddie Hearn. You can imagine Eddie right now, can't you? And then he's able to put a belt up in a clash with Deontay Wilder. That's good for both of them. It increases the interest in the fight markedly, and surely the payday for both goes up significantly. He could actually end up with 2 belts if he wins that fight. So either way, Ortiz wins, and while he has been denied a title shot to this point, regardless of what happens, he's going to get one. We'll have to wait and see how this pans out. It is very fascinating. What do you make of this whole situation? Drop a comment, hit like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.